Hi, it's Dennis Daly. On Thanksgiving Day 1973, as part of a sports broadcast I was doing as a much younger man, I interviewed a fellow named JESS Borders. Jess was in his early mid-80s at the time. I wanted to talk to him about high school sports because he had played basketball a very long time ago.
About 1904, I reckon, Dennis, near as I can remember. Long about that time, anyway.
That was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, that was several years ago, before I started riding the bike finally, either.
How old will you be on your next birthday, Jess?
I'll be 84 on the next birthday. That's the 29th of March.
84 years old, and you're still out riding a bike.
Yeah, but on account of the energy crisis, Denny, I've cut that out a little bit. I mean, on my energy. What the government thinks about it don't bother me much, but then my personal energy has caused me to cut down a little this year.
Well, Jess, let's go back, if we might, to 1904. You played for Graysville High School, right?
Yeah, there was one team before me, Dennis, when the fellow that was principal of the high school was named George Bicknell, and he introduced basketball there in about 19 and 3 or 4, and I played 4 years. I played 1 year with a high school team while I was in the 8th grade, on account of they needed some help that was a little bigger than what they had in high school. About the same kind of a game, only they've quieted down a little bit, you know. A little bit more like football, you know.
Well, now, you didn't have, what I was getting down to, you didn't have a very nice place to play. What did you use for a gymnasium back?
Well, anything they could get there. At our schoolhouse, they was at the upstairs, the second story wasn't used, and we had a fairly good place to play there. It was a hardwood floor and a good wide building, and there's where they held their first games up there. But a little bit later, they used that for classes, and then we had to go down the street to an old store that had an upstairs to it, outside stairs, and we'd go up there, and they were just very few seats. They used chairs, folding chairs, and it wasn't much wider than the court should have been, and it didn't give very much room for spectators, and hit by one of these big round-bellied stoves, you know, that burned coal, and the accommodations wasn't very good. There was no running water, no hot bath, no cold water, no water of any kind. So we had to go in there without a bath and wipe off the best you could with a towel after the game and ride home, not in a heated car, but in a way you could get home, either ride a horse or in a buggy if you're fortunate enough, maybe walk.
Well, Jess, you mentioned no running water. I immediately picture some of these multi-million-dollar facilities with the ceramic tile dressing rooms and the multiple showers and everything. No running water, no hot or cold water. What did you do for lights? You certainly didn't have those mercury vapor lights flooding the gym, making it easy to play.
They didn't have electricity. No, they had a gasoline burner. I don't know whether you're acquainted with it or not. It was a gasoline drum with a flat surface that would fit the wall, you know, and then a pipe run down and come out at right angles with the tank, and they had them stuck around all over the wall, you know, and they made a pretty good light, 4 or 5 of them in a room.
Well, Jess, you were talking about pot-bellied stoves with as little room as you had on the outside of the court. What was to keep a fellow from falling onto that hot metal?
Well, there wasn't anything. There was hardly ever a game but what somebody was burned, and one game I remember they knocked the whole stove over, and they had to stop and take care of that fire before they could finish the game.
I can imagine, too, with some of those upstairs rooms that had windows on each side. Did you ever have anybody go through a window?
Well, we played most of our games in the county, but we went to Flat Rock, Illinois, and this was the captain of the team. He run his hand through the window and cut an artery or a vein, and it just about done him up. We drove to Hudsonville in a bus
That poor fella must have been in pretty sad shape before you got him to a doctor.
Yeah, he was in very bad shape. He was a very nice fella, too, but he just had that unfortunate thing to happen to him.
Well, just back in the early 1900s, when basketball was just being introduced to high schools, was there much of the school spirit we see now? I mean, did the rest of the students follow the games? Did they get excited about a big contest?
Oh, yeah, they did, but of course there was no tournament then. It was just about 2 best out of 3, and they had very good following, especially a little community like we had here around Greensville. Just about everybody would turn out. They got awful interested in a few years, and this particular part of the country was very fortunate in having good teams. The first team they had, the first team, they always had a second team and sometimes a third team, but I don't think they ever was beat in the county, and then I come along in the first team they had, and we was only beat once, and that was outside the county. That was in Orleans, Indiana. There's a little town down there just below Sullivan. I can't think of the name of that. We went down there and played in a little building that wasn't really big enough to play in, and then the patrons got in there. There just wasn't hardly room enough to play, and then we played a couple of 3 games outside of the state over at Hudsonville and down at Flat Rock, like I told you. That's about as far as we got.
One thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that often the gyms were so small they just put the hoop, the net, right up on the wall. You could practically walk up the wall to score 2 points.
Could climb the wall. If you had a good start, you could run up 3 or 4 feet there, and we had forwards that done that too. But then at that time it was legal. They was stacked right to the wall. And I had an awful good guy working with me. I played guard all the way through. He played a minute of a game that the forward on their team never made a score. In fact, that's what we went in there for, to see that they didn't score. And we'd make a score or 2 ourselves once in a while. So that was the reason we had a pretty good team.
Well, now, what about the equipment you had back then? I know today there are many companies making basketballs, and they have flashy suits, and they're stretch knit fabrics with nice numbers on them. What kind of uniforms did you have? Were you able to...
Good uniforms. I remember ours was a red kind of a T-shirt thing, and white shorts, and it had a white stripe from crossways across the chest with a number on it, and uniforms were all right. And then they had some that were just completely black, the shorts and the shirt too. We had regular basketball shoes, or tennis shoes they were, tennis shoes.
Uh-huh. I guess tennis had come along a lot further than basketball had at that time.
Well, they probably had. I didn't know much about it, but they did have that type shoe. We had a blacksmith in our vicinity here at Graysville that probably made that. He was very handy about things. The basket was all right.
Yes, I presume you still keep up with your area teams by listening to the radio. You still try to follow what's happening in Hoosier basketball?
I've got a little grandson here that's just starting to play basketball, and he thinks maybe he's going to play center. He practices out there a night or 2 a week in the same little town. Of course, they got a nice gym now, and the lockers and the shower and all that. Another thing I might add, we couldn't dress in them halls. We had to dress in another room in another part of the building, go upstairs with a coat on, and no matter how bad the weather, we had to get up there and come out all wet and sweaty and get home the best way you could, either a buggy or a horse. Quite a bit of difference, in 50, 60 years, just like I am sitting here. If I get cold, push a button, and if I get too hot, I push another, and that kind of grows on a guy, and these younger kids have been used to that, and we hadn't been used to it, so there's where the difference is. Yeah, well, all right, thank you very much.
What a nice guy. JESS Borders, and some great memories of high school basketball at a very different time. I'm Dennis Daly.